Welcome back to Patriots Nation. Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Closer with my co-host Tracy Belmonte. Hello, Tracy.
Hey Mike, how are you?
Doing well. Glad to be back with you. I think we have this as a regular gig now. This is nice to get back in rhythm after a healthy Thanksgiving, which I'm all out of now. It's out of the house. How about you?
Yeah, I think I'm wearing it south of the equator. You can't see it.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it for sure. It is a lot of heavy food, but you do feel good about it, and you do look forward to it every year. And then you look forward to not thinking of it at least for a month.
But what's your favorite? Like out of
Uh,
all, like, are you a dessert guy? Are you a savory guy? What's your
I'm
favorite
a
Thanksgiving?
savory person. I never eat birthday cakes. I don't eat cakes or cookies. So I like the white meat turkey. I definitely like the yams. That's kind of sweet for me. And I certainly love the peas and the corn. I think I have just about it. Oh, and
You
I like
love
the
it all.
stuffing. I like the stuffing a lot too. How about you?
Stuffing is my favorite.
Yes.
I think it's because I'm keto now, so I don't really eat carbs. Like I look at food now in terms of net carbs, protein, and fat grams. So with Thanksgiving, I gave myself a little break. So it was like I dove headfirst into my mom's stuffing. That stuff, oh, it could cure any disease on the planet.
It
It's so
sounds
good.
good. It sounds good. But now I understand you're not. You'll be looking forward to it again next year. It sounds like.
Yeah. Well, Christmas, I'll give myself another little break, because keto. It's actually eating all this healthy fat is filling me up. So I'm not eating as much. So it's working for me, but I do miss the breads. I really do.
Not
So
easy. I know it's not easy, especially to smell them. And if you're from an Italian background, bread can smell awfully good, especially at the right bakery, as you know.
all right, we need to stop talking about this.
I got you into the in the bread mood. All right, so usually we list a few topics we're going to go over, but today Tracy and I want to hit a little bit more on the caravan in two different angles, and Tracy has some news and notes on that and some details about what's really going on at the border. So. Tracy, why don't you take it from here and give everyone what's the state of affairs at the border, health wise included?
Well, first of all, Mike, I gave them a little name this week. I called them the Gimmigrant Migrant Caravan Invasion. What a lot of people don't talk about is the health issues that this type of caravan brings. And they're not the first caravan, okay? We've had caravans try to storm the border before. In fact, before I get into the health aspect of it, I know everybody's up in arms. All these celebrities are up in arms about the tear gas. Obama from 2012 to 2016 used tear gas at the border over 500 times. And the only reason that the numbers started 2012 was that's when Border Patrol started to keep the record. So it's a lot higher than that. Donald Trump in 2017, he used the tear gas 27 times, and in 2018 once. So if these liberals want to get angry, I think they're looking in the wrong place. But
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Whatever Trump does, he's damned if does it. He's damned if he doesn't do it. They're never happy. They just hate him. So let me get into the health aspect.
All right.
So right now there's about 6,000 people that are set up in this stadium that's on the border of Mexico and California. And the stadium's built. It's an outdoor stadium. It's built for about 1,000 people. So you can imagine the conditions are not very good over there. Now, out of the 6,000 people that are there, 2,267 of them are sick, brought illnesses with them. And we're taught this is a third of the people that are there. This isn't
Mm-hmm.
the whole caravan. This is just
Major.
in that, yeah. So the problem's a lot more widespread. Now we're talking diseases like tuberculosis and other viral infections, lice. We're talking HIV. It's chickenpox. I mean, we got some really serious problems at the border, and we see it already in our country. Right now, there's a polio-like virus that's striking the heart of cities and towns where there was a heavy influx of DACA children in the last few years, and
Mm-hmm.
we're seeing this polio-like virus make a return. That's not an accident. No one likes to talk about it, but we'll talk about it here because we don't hide the truth.
That's true. In fact, when you brought up a great point because not only was it through the DACA program, but don't forget the Khan family we were bringing in migrants from Somali, 40,000
Right.
total between Los Angeles, Minnesota, and Michigan. So there was quite a few. And of that, none of them had background checks or health checks of any sort whatsoever. So I
That
know you're
doesn't
familiar
surprise
with
me.
that. So with that said, a lot of them started spreading around two different types of tuberculosis. On top of tuberculosis, they also had another strain of the flu that we couldn't attack or have the antibodies for yet already. So in the old days, our ancestors came through a certain way. They were quarantined. Shots were given. If you and I travel abroad, it's the opposite way. Shots are given, and we take the necessary precautions. So if you're telling me a third of the people listed have what you just said, that's a big number, by the way, a third.
Yeah, a
So
third.
are you saying they arrived that way? Is
They
that what you're
arrive that
saying?
way.
So
Yeah,
if they
that's
are,
exactly what I'm saying.
so if they're arriving that way, have they always been this sick in the cities that they're from and not getting health checks, and they don't even know they carry these things? How deep
That's
does this go?
That's 100% correct. I mean, look at the images that we're seeing. These people don't look like they're in the best shape. Either they're stick figures, flacos, okay, or they look very, very overfed. And the children are in deplorable, and I don't mean that in the good deplorable way, it's just like the bad deplorable way. They don't even have shoes on their feet, or like their clothing is tattered, or they're missing their pants, or their shirts are all red. So we're not talking about, when Donald Trump says they're not sending their best. They're not sending their best. Now, the economic migrants, I do have a spot in my heart for them, but I'm sorry, you were offered asylum. There are other countries you can go to. We can't afford to take these people in and have them go on the system. It already costs us what is over 200 billion every year at this point.
It is.
Yeah, and now you add the health concerns on top of that, and you're talking about some heavy duty diseases that they could be bringing in and affecting our population with diseases that upper respiratory infections that we might not have seen here, where we won't have the antibodies. We could see a major, massive flu outbreak. And, the flu is deadly. I know it's not like 1865 anymore, but the flu still kills. And we could see that here. And we have to protect America's children first before we protect these children. I'm sorry to say that. It sounds
True.
callous, but it's true.
It is true. And you also mentioned in another episode, we chatted about there's child trafficking, there's sex trafficking. So all of that stuff being exchanged between multiple folks is going to spread it even quicker and further, right?
Yeah, I have to tell you now. You know that it's gotten to be a viral picture. It's Reuters took a picture of a woman. Her name is Maria Mesa.
Yes.
She's with the two daughters. Everybody knows this picture. She appears to be running away from tear gas. Looks like a staged photograph.
Yes.
And in any event, if you enlarge that picture and you go in the upper left-hand corner, you will see an adult grabbing a little girl by her hair. Okay, I have tweeted this out. Because I enlarged and I went through the picture with a fine tooth comb, and she's grabbing the kid and like forcing the kid to walk forward. That's a child trafficker, and if you compound that problem by hundreds and hundreds of kids, because not every child that's traveling to the border is with their parents. In fact, a lot of these parents in these poor countries will pay somebody to take their child and trust to take their child over the border, and sometimes they never see these children again. There's a real problem with that.
That's a real problem. Now, they said originally a third of the parents did not want the children back of the original first set, meaning that they just wanted them to get into the U.S. An additional two-thirds do not match a blood relative of some sort. That's very hard to talk about, and what do you do with them? Now, we know what Obama did with them. The 90,000 of those were returned to non-blood relatives or child traffickers without a second thought. President Trump is at least doing blood testing to try to match up, DNA to the parent before they're returned to an adult. But going back to what you said, we gave three combined countries $500 billion, $200 billion to one alone. If you just add up that money and you ask economically, what could we have done for these, we'll call them third world countries with severe wealth and severe strife, how come nothing ever trickled down and created a middle class, let alone a lower middle class or an upper lower class? How come no new class was created or manufacturing or anything came out of this money? How come, Tracy, we don't follow up our money? What's our problem?
Because there's just so much ineptitude, or was, in our government for so long, and Donald Trump's only one man. But we all know the answer to this. These governments are corrupt. They're taking the money that we give them in aid, and they're living the life of Riley, while these people are starving. And they're, well, some of them are, some of them aren't by the pictures, but they're not living the best life. And Honduras, especially El Salvador, Honduras, it's just rife with gangs, rife with gangs. In fact, I had a cleaning lady. She was a naturalized citizen. She actually earned her citizenship while she was working for me, and she had a green card to work and all that. And she was telling me like how bad Honduras is, and the reason that she left was because the gangs do come to your house, and basically, if you have a son and he's a teenager, he's recruited to join these gangs, or he's dead, or they're going to make your life and his life miserable, and you're gonna wish you were dead. You might have to pay them tribute every week. The girls have to become the girlfriend. So it is really bad there. Why isn't it better? It's because the government is stealing our money that we give them, and I think we should cut off the aid. As it is now, Mexico, the new Secretary of State, that as of this Saturday coming up, the new Secretary of State wants us to give another 20 billion to these countries to waste. This is not going to build any industry. We would, if we give them one more dime, we need to put it towards something that's going to build up their economy, and make sure that that happens. But there's so much corruption in those countries. I don't know, Mike.
We've given enough money to own these countries.
We could build the wall like 80 times over with how much we give these countries.
We could have. In fact, if we owned those countries, we definitely could have them employed them and built an infrastructure for them with all the money we've gifted and given. And by the way, we don't ask for payback, so we're very generous. But you mentioned something about the caravan. So first we have the recruited ones, the coyoted ones. We have many people saying they're being coerced into joining the caravan. And one quick story hit me right before we came on the air, and I'm just going to give you a quick background on it. It's Maria Luisa Caceres, and she said, went to El Chaparral border area in Tijuana on the 25th to check the status of her asylum number. It was there at a makeshift registration tent a week earlier that she was given a number of 1537. The group organizing the asylum numbers is Pueblo Sin Fronteras. That might be a name you've heard in the news. It's called People Without Borders, an open border group that has supported several caravans of Central American migrants attempting to gain asylum in the United States, partly funded by Soros.
George
Soros. And I believe now it's upwards of $50 million. The group writes the names of asylum seekers in its book. Each number is assigned 10 names, and when a number is called that day, those people enter the pedestrian crossing into the United States and claim asylum. They're trained how, what to say, and how to make it through the system. So this is a business in itself, and I could go on and on here, but this is a business in itself that is being done to us on purpose to strain and break our system and to cause strife with our president and strife with the Mexican president that's incoming, because they're not equipped to handle it. But I understand, I think they want to be part of it. They don't know what to do. And now everyone's relying on our president, including ourselves, by the way, but everyone's relying on him. I'm sure you're not shocked by what I just said.
No, absolutely not. We know that this is got sinister ties to. We know George Soros's dirty hands are in everything. I just don't know what they're going to do in a couple of days when the food runs out. I'm actually a little scared for our border patrol, our officers, and our military. And I'm scared for some of the innocent people that maybe were duped into thinking something was going to happen that wasn't. Because I do believe that these people that run the caravans promised unicorns and rainbows and town fairs and cotton candy and tamales and everything else to these people. I have no doubt that some of the gullible people went along because they were lied to. Now they're in this place. It's dilapidated.
Can you hear me? Just making sure you're still there. You froze on me for a second. Can you hear me, Tracy? Making sure you can still hear me. Can you hear me okay? Hoping you can still hear me. I think your wireless may have gone off. I'm going to dial you right back. I think the wireless went off, but don't worry. I'll get you right back on. Excuse me, folks. While we're currently recording, I am inviting Tracy right back on the show. The wireless, I think, turned off right in the middle. Let's see if we can get her right back on. I'm just giving you a little bit of a delay. Hopefully we can get her right back on the line here. I'm just trying to get her right back on the line. Hold on one second. We're sending each other notes to try to get her right back on. But I can roll with it, and then we'll be able to bring her right back on. And hopefully it'll be working again real quick here. Let's see if that does it. We're hoping it resets. But if it doesn't reset, I'll continue on, and then I will bring her right back on with us, because we're about 25 minutes deep. Let's see if this happens now. Here we go, folks. Thank you for understanding the delay. I could play music, you know. I could do this. Tracy's going to be right back with us. I'm just waiting for her to send me a note back. She needed a quick reboot, but as we're pausing, I came up with this idea I want to run by everybody while I'm waiting on Tracy to come back. So here's an idea how to take care of the migrants and potentially a homeless idea that may just work. How about George Soros or many of the other wealthy people out there that make a living off this buy some of the used cruise ships that are available out there? There's a lot of used cruise ships. And these cruise ships range anywhere from $5 million to about $40 million. You buy a cruise ship that houses about 4,000 people. You staff it with people that you pay, and then you could also have a homeless level where you train them to get jobs. You can have an area for migrants. You could teach them skills. And so anyway, each level could be a different section of people that are in transition, people that are maybe migrating with asylum. Meanwhile, they could stay somewhere offshore, so to speak, where if there are any disease issues, it would have a hospital on board. It would be able to take care of all those types of things. So this is just a thought, and I'll bring it up to Tracy. I'm just waiting for her, and she says she's ready now. So now I'll run the idea by Tracy, and we'll see how funny this was, if it is a funny idea whatsoever. So wait till I tell her this idea. How about that, folks? So, Tracy, I was filling in the gap. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm sorry. The Russians got me, and then I got hit with tear gas.
You got hit with tear gas and the Russians. Well,
yeah, it was and then obviously I had to take a couple of phone calls from Putin, and
you were busy. I understand. I was stretching it with either humor, and then I put on our intro in front of everyone. Then I came back with this idea that I thought would work, and I want to run it by you real quick. How about there are about 50 used cruise ships available. They can buy them from $50 to $40 million. George Soros or anyone else could invest in them. They house 4,000 people. They float offshore. They have hospitals. You could have homeless on them and train them to get jobs. You could have asylum seekers waiting to be adjudicated and have a judge on board. You could have all different levels and types of people being trained for jobs. Needless to say, they can also serve food on there and be health approved. And it floats, and it will not be on shore. What are your thoughts about that idea? Was that crazy?
But what about the seasick people? Actually, I like that solution. It's very out of the box. I'll tell you something that really touched me over Thanksgiving, and this is why I might seem that I'm taking a very hard stance against migrants here, like most of us are. I got the just the pleasure of working with an organization called Heroes for Our Heroes.
Hmm.
And I didn't know, I live in New York. It's quite a rich area. It is. We do have our poor areas. It's not as nice as it used to be, but it is compared to, every other place, in the United States. It's a pretty rich area. And I didn't realize how bad the homeless veteran population was in my backyard until I started working with this organization.
Hmm.
Like you have to see these guys like 35 years old, PTSD up the max, telling me their stories. I'm hysterical crying. I didn't realize how many homeless veterans we have. When every homeless veteran is taken care of, then I will be more than willing to accept any migrant that has a skill and they really want a better life and they want to assimilate to the American way, then I'll be willing to talk about that. But until these veterans are taken care of, I got to take that hard stance. I mean, really, Thanksgiving showed me just a new side to America. And
Let's riff on that. I'm with you on
yeah.
that in a huge way. One, as a young boy, I took my son to make sure that we fed the homeless, and then I said,
Wait, you are a young boy. Oh, the way you said
oh,
it,
when my son was a young
I
boy.
miss her. I miss her.
Yeah,
I miss her.
my son was son. This is a long time ago. This is about 17 years ago when he was below 10. And when we
Oh.
when we went, we met with veterans. We did a Thanksgiving and we did a Christmas. And instead of just feeding, we worked in the kitchen and then we sat with them and we ate and all that stuff. Okay, so then you learn one side of it, which is just feeding them for that day. And it feels good. And then you come home and then later on you don't feel as good a few days later because you don't know what really went on 3 days later. So then we fast forward to today, and President Trump says there's 7.1 million jobs available in the United States. We're also wasting 215 billion with a B on refugees, illegals, and legal entry into to this United States. Shame on all of us because the statement you just made is easily solved. A, they could all have housing. B, they could all have jobs and with job training, and we'd have a ton of leftover for four walls already. So what you just said, it serves us better. And number one, it's the 1% that protects 99% of us. In fact, they're the ones at the border right now
Yeah.
that are currently serving that will one day be veterans of serving. So in this case, I have to say that that's a feel good story that probably is a mantra we should follow first, and then we could all get behind doing something else.
Yeah, it really opened my eyes. I'm somebody that's aware, and politics is in my blood. It's all I do. It's all day, every day, inside and out. And I didn't know that the problem was this bad. And it made me feel bad. It made me feel so callous, but it also reinvigorated my I can't say it today, philanthropic spirit.
That's good.
And I pledge to do all I can to help these people in my backyard.
That was a good way to look at it, and maybe everyone that isn't willing to do that should do that for a quick second. And the way I tried to equivalate it to someone yesterday when they said, "Look, we can handle it. We're the United States," and I said, "Okay, so if you can handle it, let's even take Geraldo Rivera in the same vein. Hey, Geraldo, you have this beautiful mansion in Cleveland, Ohio, and what if 100 people that you do not know showed up at the door? They got banging loud enough that eventually they broke the seal." And they started to come in and eat your stuff and just mill around. How would you handle it? Well, I get all tough and I would be upset about it. Of course you would, because you didn't invite them, did you? No. So, now we're doing it thousands of times over at our border, and it's being forced upon us as almost a political plight forced down our throats at a unique time. I can say this would not have happened in this vein where I'm hearing it'll be almost 100,000 people over 3 to 4 months if someone else was in charge.
Yeah. Also, Mike, you have to understand, we were just talking about 6,000 people at this Tijuana shelter on the
Yeah,
border of Mexico and California. It's comprised of 4,000 men that are young. Like we're talking late teens, 20s. They already caught one gang member who admitted that he is an MS-13 gang member. If they caught one, how many others do you think are in there? So out of those 6,000 people, 4,000 are men, 2,000 are women or children. These men are not the best of men because they're the ones that are shoving the women and children up to the front lines so that they can push them forward so that they can get over the border and claim asylum. Because the way our laws are written, which are disgusting, and I'll give President Trump credit, he's tried to pick up the slack where Congress has failed and change it, although the Ninth Circuit advocate judges there overturn it. But if they just step foot, if they put their hand on our soil and say, I claim asylum, we have to take them in. We have to listen to them. Mm-hmm. So look, I have to say, maybe this will work out in our favor politically. I don't like to look at things like that, especially when we're talking about human lives. But, there is an old adage that if you solve problems too quickly in politics, it doesn't serve you because the public has a very short memory. Look what happened with tax reform, right? Like everybody seemed to forget about it during the midterms. So, maybe pushing this closer to the 2020 election is not such a bad thing, so that if he gets to the point where he does solve it and he works this through, because if he says there's going to be a wall, there's going to be a wall. There's some way, shape, or form. If he's got to build it himself, there's going to be a wall. So maybe the closer we get to 2020 and solve the problem then, it's a case of, what have you done for me lately? Maybe it's politically expedient for us. Maybe it works out that way.
You listed the statistics earlier, and those statistics are scary. Out of the 1,000 you mentioned just on the Tijuana side, right? Now imagine being hit from multiple angles. So this brought up another interesting point. So while you were talking about Tijuana, at the same time, about 3 hours ago, and hopefully I don't say it wrong here, Javier Becerra, which is the Attorney General of California, is now considering legal action against the president on defending the border and if he decides to close the border. In other words, he's going to challenge, do we have the right to close it as a country, and do we have the right to protect it? And because California takes, our money, federal funds for many things they shouldn't, he doesn't have a case there. But the fact that he's willing to do that, is that telling you they're willing to continue to bankrupt themselves further and take in migrants they can't afford? What do you think he's taking that from? What point of view?
He wants voters. He's got to replace the ones that he's losing, right? Article 2 of the Constitution, has he never read it? That's the president's number one job, is to protect the people of the United States. If there's an invasion on your southern border, I don't care if it's made up of 2,000 women and children. You have 4,000 young men that are throwing rocks that are gang members. They even caught 6 Bangladeshi nationals in there. Well, what do you think they're up to? So that's his first job.
Right.
He federal overrules the state in that vein. But they want to tie this up in legislation. They know that they're going to lose, but it can go on and on and on and tie it up for years until it gets to the Supreme Court. They know this. They're playing the court system, and it's annoying and it's obnoxious and it's a waste of our judicial system. It really is. It's just tying up nonsense, and they know they're going to lose in the end.
It is. I mean, what are we, 3-4 weeks deep in this? Now, the statistics you just read, if those were read on day one, in other words, if we said there's a caravan coming, and in this caravan holds what Tracy just said, the narrative maybe would have changed sooner. But as you and I wait things out and statistics come in and you find out the criminals, the sick, the unhealthy that are in this group, the left that were supportive of this notion and wanting open borders should also be taking a second look at your statistics, because I believe that's the tip of that iceberg when the numbers hit 20,000, and then we're talking, 6,000 and sick, and then maybe we're up to 8,000 sick, and that becomes a spreadable health hazard. And they would never be allowed in here, Tracy, ever. Our CDC, and no one can handle that here. We can't.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure this is how The Walking Dead started.
I think that is how The Walking Dead started. I'm pretty sure one of The Walking Dead started very, very close to that, yeah. Well, I think it's a problem that we have a unique person to solve it. And if anyone could negotiate something to work, it's him. At the same time, I know he could write the executive orders if Congress won't support it to get this wall done through the military, through military means, through the Army Corps of Engineer. But he's going to support our country first and foremost, but he does have a heart for people that need help. That we've seen in the United States big time. You've seen it yourself in New York City, and we've seen it in general as a person, what he's done for people he's never met before.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I mean, Mike, the Democrats don't want to solve this problem. Congress isn't going to come up with a fix. The Republicans in Congress are more likely to work together to come up with some sort of solution. The Democrats, we saw it when Trump offered them more than they asked for. Back when he said, "Okay, you want to make a DACA deal? I'll make a wall deal with you. Let's party." And he throws out this great offer for the Democrats. And what did Schumer and the Democrats do? They said no. So the Democrats want to use this issue to run on again and again and again. And they know that they have our election system in their pocket because that it was proven with the midterms. We're letting illegals vote, and not only in just local elections, but federal elections. It's not that hard. Motor voter. They go to a motor vehicle, like in my state. Cuomo granted illegal aliens the right to get their driver's license. And when you driver's license, you register to vote. It's motor voter, and it's corrupt, and it always benefits the Democrats, because if it wasn't for cheating, they would never win any elections.
Right. And every one of those votes cancels out your vote.
That's right.
And that means we have to get a second vote. So we actually probably always have the numbers, but they're being erased one by one. At this very moment, within the last few hours, President Trump left for the G20. And a lot of stuff was going on at the time here and abroad regarding meeting with Putin, not meeting with Putin, what's going to be accomplished, what won't be accomplished down there, who's going to be speaking to whom. As you know, there's a lot of internal or external strife between certain world leaders. Macron has problems, Merkel has problems, Theresa May has problems. If you really look at the world map right now of problems, it's pretty thick of problems. But back today here, all of a sudden we found out some things are going on internally here with what Mueller's trying to manufacture. This is my opinion, but it looks to me, and you and I briefly discussed some of this, that Mueller is manufacturing whatever he can make out of what he lost yesterday. He lost Jerome Corsi and he lost Roger Stone completely, where they would not agree to sign something, agreeing to what Mueller wanted to design. And because they wouldn't sign something, Mueller went to what he had left, which was Michael Cohen. Now, Michael Cohen is now saying, I lied the first time, and this is what I really meant to say. But Tracy, what he chose to lie about isn't even breaking the law, because he's making it over a piece of property that may or may not have ever been built in Russia to begin with.
Mike, I appreciate when people come up with these wonderful theories, and I listen to theories about Mueller, maybe Mueller, maybe he's in on some sort of sting with Trump, and it's nice to listen to, and it's interesting to listen to. But I'm sorry, I've dissected this every which way, and look at the number one pit bull that Mueller went to first. You had Andrew Weissman. Andrew Weissman should sound familiar to a lot of people because he was implicated as one of the investigators in the Enron scandal. And in fact, his convictions that he prosecuted were overturned because he was hiding evidence. He was destroying evidence. Mm-hmm. He should have been disbarred after the Enron fiasco.
Yeah.
So the way I look at this is, I think this Mueller probe is just a way to delegitimize Donald Trump and the things that they're getting Cohen on. So Cohen says to the FBI, yeah, the Moscow deal, it died in January of 2016. Whoop, they caught him lying. It was actually June of 2016. Now, that little thing is going to cost this guy 3 years in prison. Now, Michael Cohen's a scumbag. Don't get me wrong. He was a fixer. Every big businessman in New York needs a little slimy lawyer on his staff. They do, to do business in New York. It had nothing to do with Russian collusion or stealing elections. And I got to say, Jerome Corsi is a hero. For him to stand up and unmask what's going on behind the scenes, how they're basically instructing him to lie. And if he doesn't lie, they're going to charge him with a process crime, and he could spend the rest of his life in prison for this little process crime. He actually filed suit, by the way, yesterday against the Department of Justice and the Mueller team, the special counsel's office, because of they were pushing him to tell lies. They did the same thing to Paul Manafort. Now, did you see Trump before he got on the airplane today? And he to me, like, he was giving signals to Corsi, to Roger Stone, to Paul Manafort that, you stay strong and stay tough and tell the truth. And, there's going to be a pardon in your future. At least that's what I heard when he was calling Michael Cohen weak and spineless and gutless. Yes. And, all those.
I look at it. I watched Jerome Corsi 3 different interviews. Hannity did not do a good job on Fox. On Fox Radio, much better. But on Fox, he was interrupted. But I got to tell you, Jerome Corsi, I believe he's 72 or 74. So forgive me for his age. And he was 40 hours berated and questioned for 40 hours, and he wouldn't sign what he wanted. He said he wanted me to lie, he wanted me to lie, he wanted me to lie, and I wouldn't sign it. And now Roger Stone's a bit of a funny cat, I'll give you that. And he's very eccentric, I'll give you that. And I like his political knowledge, but his approach to things are not my approach. He's a little out there. But I believe he stands very resolute and strong behind this president since the early 80s, and he's never wavered. So I have to give it up for these guys, including Paul Manafort. Now, Manafort probably owes tax money, probably avoided taxes, probably moved him around to different countries. In fact, he's only known President Trump for a short period of time, and they were not even friends beyond 5 years. It's even less than that. I believe that whatever he did in his past is Mueller's way of saying, I gotcha, I found you on something, I'll let you out of it if you're willing to do what I'm asking Corsi to do, or what I'm asking Roger Stone to potentially do. And they're not willing to do it, and I think that they all flipped on him, and because of that is what you and I saw recently in the Cohen stuff today. And do you think Cohen, what kind of time he would get? Do you have any thoughts?
I heard up to 3 years for that little process crime, and a $10,000 fine, up to $10,000. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. If the Mueller probe didn't exist, this charge wouldn't exist. And not for nothing. Like, you ask me what I ate for lunch yesterday, I don't remember. So, he messed up January and June. They both start with J. That's what he's going to go away for and get a $10,000 fine for. I mean, really? And even, not for nothing, it wasn't against the law for Trump to plan other Trump towers in other countries. That's what he did. If he lost the election, he was going to go back to his business. Yes. Oh, it happened to be Moscow. Well, I'm sure he had other deals all over the world that you're not hearing about either.
He did, actually. They looked in St. Petersburg in the early 2000s in Russia. He actually gave up, from what I understand now, about $3 trillion in potential revenue over the next 10 years, and that probably would build another $1.5 billion in wealth, in total profitable wealth. And so he's given up those possibilities, and even his sons running the company cannot open up new establishments outside of the U.S. He even gave them that part of the deal. And so yes, he was allowed even up through June if he wanted to. I believe when did he run? June 15th of... What was the date again? 15, June.
I don't remember the exact date, but it was June.
So he's allowed to do business all the way up. He didn't have to divest anything up until he wins.
That's right. He's a private citizen. It's like Mueller coming into our little studio here, Mike, and saying that we can't do this. Them going after Jerome Corsi, Roger Stone, is like them going after us. Stone and Trump had conversations. Who cares? You're allowed to as a private citizen. I didn't know that you couldn't have private conversations. But, I want Trump to get up there, declassify FISA and Spygate. I want them to declassify everything, because on those documents, and I know because I know people who have seen the classified documents, Obama's name is all over them. Yes. That's the name that's redacted. Obama knew that this was going on. He was surveilling Trump and his men and everybody else associated with the campaign who were private citizens. highly illegal. It's like them surveilling us. And Mike, at this point, I wouldn't doubt if we've been surveilled or investigated at some point.
That is probably true. And in fact, if you, I know, do you know if you caught any of the New York Post article? But President Trump gave an article to the Post. They just posted it, but I'm going to give you a piece of it about this information. It says in a wide-ranging exclusive interview with the president, this was late on Wednesday. He said, if the House Democrats launched any probes into his administration, which he called a presidential harassment, they will pay a heavy price. Quote, if they go down the presidential harassment track, if they want to go and harass the president and the administration, I think that would be the best thing that would happen to me. I'm a counterpuncher. I will hit them so hard they've never been hit like that. He said in this 36-minute Oval Office sit-down, the commander-in-chief said he could declassify FISA warrant applications and other documents from Mueller's probe and prejudice the disclosure would expose the FBI, the Justice Department, the Clinton campaign, as being in cahoots to set him up, and he continued on. So in other words, he's like, so feel free to come at me. I think he's holding this for when he's ready, because the last piece says, it says, it's much more powerful if I do it then, meaning later on, maybe after the House takes over, and wait it out a little bit until they take their seats.
Oh, I love him. Every day I grow to love him just a little bit more.
That was in the Post.
Well, that's how I felt Wednesday. Do you, I mean, I know that you know this. Everybody knows this, that's with it. When President Trump was trolling all the Muellers and the Obamas and the Clintons with the meme that he retweeted, I don't think he was just trolling, even though it was a master troll. I think that was a subtle signal that I'm going to get you, sucker. Okay?
Yes.
Because I really believe that when the timing is right, now Trump has incredible instincts. When the timing is right, he's going to strike, and he's going to just declassify everything, even though people have begged him, saying, oh, the Republic is at stake at this point. No, do it, Don. Declassify them, get it out there. Let's see it.
I see people saying, I saw right away, people are saying, just put it out there. Just what are you waiting for? And then he's like, well, if I put it out too soon, it's yesterday's news. So I'll wait it out. But you are right. When he retweeted that, and you actually stare at that picture like I did this morning with on the other show, and I looked at them, I'm like, that cast of characters, their names are all over that. And we're not even including the tarmac meeting, which will become a negotiated seat on our Supreme Court. It was a brokered deal. What we're witnessing, those things, Tracy, I give credence to, meaning I don't do conspiracy, but I know what went down on these planes. I know they were rerouted for a reason, and I understand the reason of what went on there. And I believe that would have been the deal to broker if there was anyone to broker. Actually, if you think logically, that makes sense to me. You do this, and I'll make sure you get here, and we'll have the votes to pass it because of this and that. So it made sense to me. I don't think anything that you and I just discussed is far-fetched. In fact, I think it's more logical and probable. I just can't put a finger on the time because of comments like President Trump saying, well, maybe I'll wait.
He know, but you have to read Art of the Deal. This is what he does.
Yes.
And and he's just putting that. I think the anticipation of the fear is more of a punishment than him actually just springing and releasing it. And we're just being a little self-indulgent because we want it now. We want the truth out there, but he knows what he's doing. I trust him. And he's known about this for a very long time. Back when he tweeted that Obama was wiretapping Trump Tower.
Yes.
So,
in fact, that was a very bold statement that freaked people out. And then they still ask today, do you really believe that he did so? Not only do I believe it, but Lisa Page said it in a text message that they're reporting back to Obama on what's going on with Peter Strzok. So I know that he at least knows about it. Even if he didn't say anything, he gave an okay, or he's in the know. You can't deny that he's in the know.
But Mike, what would happen? I want everyone to, put on their little thinking caps and bizarro world. What would happen if Donald Trump was a Democrat president and all the people that we're talking about that are involved in all this shadiness were Republicans? What would happen, Mike? We wouldn't even have gotten this far, right? They'd all be lynched by now.
Yeah, absolutely. It would never. Oh, boy. I don't think, see, when you're a Republican, you get fired, you lose everything you have in life, all relationships, all money, and you serve time. If you're a Democrat, you are gently walk it back, and then you get promoted later on with a potential raise, or you end up on the news. Either or. That sounds close to about true.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yeah. I mean, you're
since our
right.
last chat, I wanted to add that we've lost more ability because of Fox, losing Fox in the mix of speaking at least in a balanced way, that we're finding it very hard, you and I included, to find sources other than ones you and I know personally
That's
that
right.
we could rely on saying, is that true? Or do I just have to believe somebody? Or is that a source I can rely on? So I hope people understand how difficult it is for new media folks to, when we get a source, we hold on to them for dear life. We know where they work, where they live, we know the details of them, and we're bringing like the greatest experience to them that is unfiltered, especially when we bring on the guests that all of us have gotten. And I want people to know how difficult that is, because we're losing grip with that TV box. It's almost done.
Yeah, and the sources that we get, when I quote a source, I'm talking like these are DC insiders. These are people that are in politics, that work around politics for the politicians. These are good sources, and these people come to each one of us for different reasons. They come to you, you get different sources than I'll get.
Mm-hmm.
And but all of our sources seem to align with one another. Like when
Mm-hmm.
we sit there and we kind of say, okay, my source said this, what did you, oh, my source said something similar. And because sometimes things get lost in translation unless the person has seen it or heard it firsthand.
Right.
So, they come to us, and one of my sources actually told me, and this is a person that works for a news organization, told me that they tell me things to put out there because they cannot do it with their news organization.
That's actually true. Very
Yes.
true.
So I'm a way to get it out. And if I get it out, and they know I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to tell Brendan Dilley, I'm going to tell Ann Vandersteel, I'm going to tell Bill Mitchell, and everybody, Tracy Beans, it's going to get out there. And by the time all of us get out there with all of our followers and retweets and whatnot, my Twitter alone, I'll reach 4 million people with it. I know yours has to be probably double that. So, we're reaching millions of people in our own way, and they know that. And that's why they do reach out to us.
I agree with that. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
not just that, but our track record. So all I can tell people that watch our shows are, I think I have almost 800 on my own. And if you just go to anything that I've recorded, which I don't delete, you'll see I'm not like a predictor. I don't go saying on this date this will happen. I don't do stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I did say certain things President Trump would accomplish and when, and certain things happened, and certain, other things. But my point is that if you go to our track record, we weren't grandiose in our process. We were trying to calm nerves and take them day by day
Mm-hmm.
through each step to not overthink it. Because some people are worried about, why didn't this happen yet on this particular December 5th day, which is General Flynn's birthday. And so everyone says on December 5th, this will happen. On December 11th, that will happen. I said, don't worry about the date that it will happen. If you believe and stand resolute in your beliefs and decisions, right? And you know right from wrong, then logically, if you just listen to what Tracy and I just said about what just happened with the Mueller team and with what President Trump just said, to me, I'm very confident that things are going to work out just fine on the date they're supposed to. And until that time, I will keep being level-headed about my
Mm-hmm.
approach about each day in the world of President Trump being our president.
Agree. And that's why I think our last show was important when we talked about the fake MAGA and the disinformation. There are people that are paid by the deep state that have hundreds of thousands of followers that are fake MAGA, that are paid to put division and dissension into our movement.
Yeah.
And sometimes y'all feed off their energy, and you'll come at us for something, for being level-headed and steadfast, and you try to rile us up, which isn't going to happen. Don't shoot the messenger. Just always think, where am I getting this information from? Because there is a lot of paid disinformation agents in our movement.
Very true. And I thought people thought that was far-fetched to say, or even if you and I thought that back 2 years
I
ago.
used to.
Yeah.
Mike, I told you, like we were talking, before we aired, like I had to see even fake news. I didn't at first. I'm like, there's no way. I'm this dutiful Republican. Everything I hear, okay, I'll take it with a grain of salt and do my own research. But they're not out to get Trump, are they? And I had to see something with my own eyes a couple of years ago, and I was like, wow. It completely rocked my sense of reality in my world. And for me to sit here and say, because I'm such a realist, that there is paid disinformation. I know it for a fact. Just putting it out there that I never thought I'd be like one of those like people. I feel like I
Right.
should have a tinfoil hat on, okay? But it's true.
No, it's true. I even did a quick study and I went back, I believe it was 10 years, and I pulled local Fox, local CNN, local ABC, CBS, and NBC, and everybody. And I got to the point of finding the same story with the same exact statement. And so I told everyone, look, you need to turn off or turn on every channel, watch it all, and then get back to us, and you're going to see what we've been telling you. Then when you meet one of these new media folks that you enjoy, realize that they have sources, they get closer to the unfiltered moment of truth, and the guests they bring you are the truth, and the guests are not told any barriers. The guests can curse and talk and wince and cry and laugh and whatever they like, but it's unfiltered. And so I said that becomes the big difference with our platform. And I think that's why people are more and more, every time we have our shows, continue to move in this direction. So I think I'm seeing the thankfulness of that since Thanksgiving even greater. I'm seeing comments like that on your Twitter, on other Twitter. So I'm liking what I'm seeing, Tracy. So I'm just telling people, hang in there. Don't worry about the when. Just stand resolute in your decision to get your country back and be a part of the experience, and engage as much as you can engage that your job will allow without you putting yourself in any unneeded jeopardy, because I know that's an issue for many people I talk to every day.
Yeah, I mean, that's why a lot of us tried to stay buried for a really long time, is because a lot of us are regular people. We have day jobs, and our employers would frown upon what we do. But it's just
Understood.
the need in us, I think, the need in us to do this as a civic duty overrules that fear. And that's why we're here.
I like that. That's a good statement.
Hmm.
It overrules the fear, and I think it does
Hmm.
too. Well, we gave everyone a great dose of the Caravan today with a medical twist to it, even a funky idea with maybe a used cruise ship or two, but a way to keep some things offshore and maybe disease free for a while. And the statistics you read are scary, and I think people should take a second look. In fact, Tracy, the next time we get together or the time after, maybe we could check on the statistics and say, whoa, where are they at today based on how many have arrived? But that was fantastic reporting.
Thank you. I have contacts in the CDC and most health departments. I can pretty much get in touch with anybody. So I will get you the real deal numbers and not just what's reported in the fake news.
That was fantastic. And I know you use your Twitter much better than I use my Twitter. So I know you'll be posting up that faster than I
I
would
will
get to it.
hashtag Closer Nation.
Thank you. That'll do it. That'll be great. This show. I like the flow of the show because it really is what people have been talking about the most. Sometimes versus what might be on my mind or just one of our minds. To put out there what was most on everyone's mind, I think calms nerves and also puts them in a position to know the real stats. So thank you for being so detailed on your statistics there. That's what I appreciate the most in working with you. So thank you, Tracy, and for a great show today. Anything you want to end with the folks and tell everyone how to find you, as most already do?
Yeah, if you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at Real Politidiva or my website, politidiva.com. I have a page for Patriots Nation. I'm making it nice and pretty as we speak to put all our episodes on there, because now we're in a regular flow. Hopefully we'll be here every week. Who knows? Maybe we'll get wild. Maybe we'll even do more than once a week. Also, advertising opportunities, sponsorship opportunities. If you want to sponsor Patriots Nation, just give either one of us a DM. We have marketing people. Yeah, that's right.
We're moving on up. This is
We're
feeling
moving
great.
on up.
Yes, well, you can find me at The Best Closer on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Periscope. And you know where to find me every morning because I'm on forever, people say. And I'll look forward to hanging out with Tracy again sometime mid next week, depending on our schedules. But we're shooting for minimum once a week. Thank you for hanging out at Patriots Nation. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Bye.